In today's show, the Blazers lose at the buzzer in Detroit in a game that had everything a little tanking heart could desire. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. As Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're going to focus on the Blazers' loss in Detroit, a 118-115 loss to the Pistons. Just a straight-up fun basketball game. An enjoyable one for the old pinwheels. Anfernee Simons was really good. They got some other strong performances, and the game came down to the final possession in the final 10 seconds. Hard to ask for anything more than that, except for maybe a win, unless you're rooting for a loss, and then you got pretty much everything you could possibly want. I'll find some places to quibble in the second segment. Very few quibbles, but I'll find some things to quibble about in the second segment, plus some stray thoughts. Blazers had a new broadcaster, Jason Benetti, filling in, who I will discuss in very briefly. I have some thoughts on JB Bickerstaff and the art of coaching, plus a day to keep some news to keep an eye on tomorrow. Let's do what we do. Let's get into it. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers came out hot and lead 28-23 after one. They led by as many as 9 in the first quarter, but it was just getting started when Anfernee Simons hits a three-pointer with 9:04 left in the second quarter. His second straight three on as many trips down the floor, and his third of the game over the first 14 minutes and 56 seconds. If you're scoring at home, the Blazers are up 22. They're up 45-23. They're blowing the doors off the Pistons. The problem is only 15 minutes have passed in the game. But at this point, the Blazers are shooting over 63% from the floor. The Pistons are under 40%. You know those two numbers are going to go in opposite directions and eventually find themselves back in the middle a little bit. But the Blazers are 19 of 30. They have 45 points in the opening 15 minutes of this game. They're 19 of 40 from the floor. They're 5 of 10 from 3 and 14 of 20 from 2. Like, they're just making everything. Denny Avdia's 4 of 4. Anfernee Simons 3 of 3. DeAndre Ayton's 4 of 6. Shaedon Sharpe's 4 of 6. Anfernee Simons has 6 assists and 3 threes in the opening 15 minutes of this game. This thing is humming. In fact, the only person that's not making everything basically they put up is Donovan Clingan, who's missed 2 layups and a funny step back 3-pointer at the buzzer, up against the clock in the first quarter. He's like, should I take a long 2? No, I should take a 3. He took a step back and missed it. But Donovan Clingan's 1 of 4. He smoked 2 layups and missed a 3. If you take out Donovan Clingan's 1 of 4, the Blazers are shooting an absolutely outrageous 18 of 26 from the floor over the first 15 minutes, and they had 2 layups that could have gone in. Like, they're humming, and they could have had a 50-piece if their 7-2 rookie center had been able to bank an easy one, including a spoon-fed one from Denny Avdia that he missed. But when you're up 22 and you're shooting 60% and there's still so much freaking game left, 33 minutes of basketball to be played, you know the other team's going to make a run, and over the following 4 minutes, the Pistons rip off a 17-2 run. Up 22, it's now a 7-point game. Blazers go into halftime up up 9, 60-51. That's just math. You're just not going to make shots like that at that level. But what a start to the game. What a friggin' start to the game. Pistons make it a game in that third quarter, briefly take the lead, but the Blazers go into the third up 90-88, and then we get 7 lead changes and 7 lead changes and a tie in the fourth quarter. We'll pick it up with Pistons took the lead for good with just under 3 minutes left. On a bucket by Tim Hardaway Jr., a 3-pointer from the left wing. Pump fake, steps by Shaedon Sharpe, cash. Pistons go up 3, and they would not relinquish the lead over the final 3 minutes, but boy, did it get interesting. So Pistons go up 4. They kind of manhandled the Blazers on the offensive glass late in this game. They finished with 17 offensive rebounds, including 6 from Jalen Duren, and Duren gets a huge offensive rebound late in this game. So I think the Blazers really lost this game on extra possessions there. That's kind of the difference in this one. Is that they just had a few more extra chances. Some of those 17 offensive rebounds for the Pistons though are because they missed the tip in. So like there's probably there's probably someone out there who tracks like the true offensive rebounds, like when you actually grab it and have a real chance. They had a bunch of those too, but I think some of those is like you miss a tip in and they kept it alive, and Isaiah Stewart was good at it. I thought Duren was pretty darn good at it. Tobias Harris had a couple where he kept it alive. Even Cade Cunningham, just because he's big and had a guard on him, a couple times kept some shots alive. That was huge for the Pistons. And they get a tip in bucket from Jalen Duren to put them up 4 with 37.2 seconds left. Clock's under 40. Blazers are going to take a timeout, and they know they need to go quick, right? You don't have to go 2 for 1, but if you don't go for the 2 for 1, you're playing the foul game. So if you're playing the foul game, you need to shoot a 3 anyways. So if you're going to say, hey, we can attack, we feel like we can keep all of our options open, you kind of need to go fast, which means you need to score, inbound the ball with 37 seconds left. You need to score in about 7 seconds. It's hard to get a 2 for 1. It's hard to really play out the game if you don't have at least 30 seconds on the clock. And they run a very familiar play. Anfernee Simons way in the backcourt, standing on the opposite 3-point line. Denny Avdia flashes to the top of the key just above the 3-point line. They usually run this play for Jeremy Grant and Anfernee Simons. And it's like a handoff, right? Jeremy Grant kind of has the option to hand off or throw to Anfernee Simons. I think this is actually what they call to give you some basketball terminology, what Phil Jackson and Tex Winter used to call the blind pig. It's kind of like a full speed dribble handoff where you throw it into a guy and then he has a chance to kind of throw the handoff or throw a little pitch ahead to a guy in the run. I believe that's called the blind pig in the triangle offense. That's just a fun little basketball thing for you. But Denny Avdia does what Jeremy Grant often does. He says, I ain't passing this. Denny kind of said, handoff, Ant goes by. Denny turns around and has a really good look at it and just missed it. His foot on the line was a 2 anyway, so it would have been kind of a problematic make, but it would have been a make nonetheless because it was a wide open one he just missed. Way short. And the Blazers are forced to foul. Down 4, forced to foul, you're going to need some help, and they get it. Malik Beasley makes the first, misses the second. Off the rebound, DeAndre Ayton out to Anfernee Simons. He goes quick. Cash. Okay, 2-point game. You're going to have to foul again. They do. They foul right away in the inbounds pass. Beasley back to the line. You're going to need some help. He does. He helps. Makes the first, misses the second. That's also perfect. The Blazers are out of timeouts. So you get to move quickly, catch a live rebound and go. You're going to go against a defense that isn't set. This is the ideal situation. And Shaedon Sharpe flies up the floor on the left side and just loses the ball out of bounds. Shaedon Sharpe just loses the ball out of bounds. But they called it that it was off Cade Cunningham. And Cade Cunningham did not react like it was off Shaedon Sharpe. Cade Cunningham thought he hit it out. The replay showed that it was very clearly Shaedon Sharpe just lost the ball out of bounds and hit it last. But I think because Cade didn't react in that way, it was like, hey, wait. The Pistons, who had a timeout and a challenge in their pocket, chose not to challenge it. They would have got the ball back and the game would have been over. But they didn't. Blazers get the ball in bounds. Anfernee Simons, who has 36 points and is 8 of 12 from 3 and just cashed in a running 3-pointer to pull this, to cut the lead on the prior possession, now gets the ball at the top of the key with a chance to tie the game if he can get a 3 off. He tries to go to a quick right to left crossover, and as he does, Malik Beasley, who's just split 2 pairs of free throws, has made 2 out of his last 4 free throws down the stretch and kind of given the Blazers an opportunity to win this game. He gets a little piece of the ball on that initial crossover. As it gets to Anfernee Simons' left hand, it kind of crawls up its wrist and hits him in the thigh, and he can't really corral it. He never really gets it back after that first deflection. Beasley steals it. Blazers don't get a shot off. Anfernee Simons says a very bad word right in front of the camera, and the Pistons go on to win 118-115. That's your fastest recap in the West. The Blazers were determined to turn the ball over on that final possession. They were determined to. Shaedon Sharpe did his damnedest, and then Anfernee Simons says, I'll finish the job, and they did. But even that kind of lackluster ending, a fun game. I thought this was a pretty darn entertaining game. Incredibly hot start. Anfernee Simons finished with 36 points and 9 assists. An awesome game from Shaedon Sharpe, like full box score, 20 points, 8 boards, 8 assists. You got the balanced. I thought Denny Avdia was, he didn't play a ton down the stretch because they leaned on Chris Murray, who I think had one of his better games. Chris Murray had a driving and one dunk in this game. To quote John Wall, I ain't never, ever seen you act like that. This way, Chris Murray got rewarded and played a bunch down the stretch, probably a little too much for my taste. Played down the stretch because he was playing really good defense, which he often does, and he was contributing enough on offense to be like, yeah, he's got something. He hit 2 3-pointers. He drove to the rim, and like I said, got fouled. I think this was, if you're looking for it, the game that has a little bit of everything. I mentioned that the loss to the Lakers was like a good loss because it was like enjoyable, competitive, came down to the final minutes, and you see players play well, and you get like the young guys get minutes, and then you lose. This was close to it. It wasn't the perfect tanking loss, but it was close to it. I think like this was obviously like, there are normal fans out there that don't have extremely poisoned brains that think that when their favorite team loses a basketball game that it's good or that it's bad. They're like, oh no, the team I like lost. This feels bad. But I think there are maybe my more disaffected sickos out there who are really rooting for losses. And if that's you got what you wanted. And you got an entertaining basketball game. I think anyone with an eye on that tank train can say choo choo, folks, because this one, mission accomplished. What is known as a good bad loss or a bad good loss, hard to know exactly how it works, but I think you got a little bit of everything. I have some quibbles. I'll talk about them in the second segment. This game isn't without quibble, but I think it's close. I think this is close to exactly what this iteration of the Blazers should look like. Join me in that second segment, and we'll talk about the should and this game, and I'll offer some quibbles. Before we get there, though, let us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. So, if this is something you're into, FanDuel lets you bet before the games. You can cook up an amazing parlay that factors in all of the football action you're going to watch in the NFL this weekend. Or if you're just sitting on the couch and watching the game and you want to get in on the FanDuel action, the app right there with live scores, live box scores, live play-by-play, everything you need to know to be an up-to-the-second wager right there at your fingertips. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. So I think this was close. I think this was almost the perfect tank game, right? Because it was entertaining, it was fun. The young players played, you got minutes from the young guys, and they mostly played well. Scoot Anderson was pretty bad in this game. A pretty stinky Scoot Anderson game. If you were hoping to dunk on a certain writer for The Ringer for calling Scoot the one of the least improved players of the game, what terrible timing from our boy Sterling to have this level of stinker. You do not have a ton of ammunition on Tuesday after Monday night's performance, but the thing about being a hater, just got to wait. Then you can hate on a certain writer from The Ringer as need be. Just wait it out. That's the trick to being a true hater. Wait long enough until your point proves itself, or you can be perfectly anecdotal. Scoot finished with 0 points and 4 turnovers to go with 3 assists on 0 of 2 shooting in 19 minutes. Other than that, though, and the smoked layups from Donovan Clingan, I think this is close to the ideal Blazers game at this stage. Jeremy Grant again missed this game. Continuing to be out with that jaw injury. It It's unclear to me what the exact deal is with Jeremy Grant. They're calling it a face contusion. He got cracked in the jaw. It looked terrible, but that was against the Mavericks last not this most recent Saturday, but the Saturday before. So now we're working. It was about 10 days with a bruised jaw. Sounds awful. They have not. He's not in the concussion protocol. Although it is the type of hit that would cause a concussion. Sometimes, certainly getting hit right there is awful. A handful of times happened to be playing basketball. It's terrible, but it's Jeremy Grant's out. That's all I'm going to say. He's out for 10 days. Rob Williams continues to be a DNP-CD. That's did not play coach's decision. They're rolling with Donovan Clingan, and he played 13 minutes in this game. You got your typical 35 from DeAndre Ayton. There's only 48 center minutes. Only playing 2 allows it to be a little more streamlined. I like that. Maybe I wish Donovan Clingan played a little more. I wish maybe the split was like 30-18. I think that would be a much more like reasonable split. But Donovan Clingan's pretty rough on offense. I understand why he doesn't play that much. I don't think he was bad in this game by any means. It's just like in this game, it wasn't like sometimes his feet get a little noisy, and then like he just isn't on balance. He takes weird shots in the lane. This one he just missed. He missed shots with bad touch. I think that you can improve your touch. That's a skill work that you can improve. Footwork seems like a little further away, but like I said in the first quarter, like Denny Avdija spoon-fed him one. He just missed it hard off the glass, right? Like that's a makeable shot. But that's like a thing for him. It's like how does he score on offense with some ease? Because I think a couple times in recent games, like they've given him some opportunities and he just hasn't been able to finish. That's a quibble. Scoot not very good. That's a quibble. I don't love 43 minutes from Shaedon Sharpe. Couldn't he play just a normal amount of a lot of minutes and play 38? But you'll recall that last year he had a stretch where he played 40 plus for like basically 2 weeks for like 8 straight games. And then he had an injury to shortly follow. There's just no reason to mess with it, right? It's like you can play him a ton, 38 minutes a night, which is among the league leaders in the league. That's right. He'll be tops in the league and leading the league in minutes. Still a ton of minutes, but it's, you're talking if you play 43 minutes in 3 games a week, you're talking an extra quarter each week. Like it is cumulative at some point in terms of playing a little bit too much. You could just give those minutes to Scoot. Then Scoot's playing about 24 minutes. Shaden's playing 38. You're fine. Scoot sucked in this game. So like, I understand why they're not playing, but Chauncey's playing 8 guys. No Ryan Rupert, no Delano Banton, no Jabari Walker, no Rob Williams, DNP-CD. 8 guys, short bench. I think it's other than I think Shaedon Sharpe's playing off maybe 5 too many minutes. No problem. Those are minor quibbles. Donovan Clingan missed some layups. Scoot stunk. Shaedon Sharpe played 5 too many minutes. Minor quibbles. Other than that, close to perfect. And here's why. Denny Avdija, Toumani Camara playing together, playing pretty well. Not excellent games by either of their standards. Denny has been better than this recently, but he was fine in this game. He finished with 14, 4, and 3. Not a bad game by any means from Denny Avdija. I don't mean to say that, but it's like he's been better than this in recent games. You've probably watched him. But he gets in double figures. You get all 5 starters in double figures. You get a really big game from Anfernee Simons. 36 points on 14 of 21 shooting to go with 9 assists until that final kind of just like give the ball away turnover. 9 assists and 3 turnovers through the first, whatever that is, 47 minutes and 49 seconds, and turns the ball over in the final 11 seconds. Probably turned it over with like 4 seconds left, so even less. Shaedon Sharpe, a nice game. Like, and you're playing the young guys, playing Chris Murray, playing Donovan Clingan, playing Scoot Henderson off the bench. There have been nights this year when the veterans play, and they play a bunch, and you feel like, okay, well, that's fine, but like, is the point of this season to watch Jeremy Grant play 37 minutes, right? But in a night where Jeremy Grant's like not available, and you're playing, recently celebrated his 24th birthday, Denny Avdija, Toumani Camara, who's about the same age, Ant and DA are right in there. Shaedon Sharpe's obviously youngster. Chris Murray in his second year. Donovan Clingan is rookie. Scoot Henderson in his second year. It's like when you're playing that young group, like your young-ish core. Despite obviously Ayton and Simons don't feel like long-term parts of the thing, but you're playing your young players, and you're competitive, and you played so stinking well in that first 15 minutes, even the whole first half when you scored 60. It's hard. It's just like I think this is close to perfect. In terms of like what you want from this team. Everybody wants something different. I think some people want the team to win because they're normal, and some people want this team to desperately lose because they're you understand how the NBA incentivizes losing, and I think it's very pragmatic and very very realistic view of how the league works. It's important for the Blazers to lose. I 100% agree. I just think in any given game, rooting for your team to lose is funny, and I'll continue to tease you about it. It's my podcast, but like, I think this is close to perfect. I think this is close even with those minor quibbles. I have some other stray thoughts about this, including about JB Bickerstaff as the coach of the Pistons on Chauncey Billups' night in Detroit. Some thoughts on Jason Benetti, who was the play-by-play man in this game, and an important day for Delano Banton tomorrow. Join me in that third segment. That's what we'll do to close the show. First, though, let's talk Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Basketball season is heating up. We're approaching the midway point and just a month out from the trade deadline. There's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. Whether you're a diehard fan or you just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win 1,000 times your cash. You think Anfernee Simons got another 36-piece in him? You think Shaedon Sharp's going for 28-8 again? Well, Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. I've been using Prize Picks for a little while now. Prize Picks has actually been a sponsor for several seasons, and I messed with it from time to time. I think it's a fun way to, to say, like, I probably know a little bit more about Chris Murray than Prize Picks might, and really test your knowledge with this sort of niche world of being a diehard Blazers fan. Plus, with Prize Picks Flex Play, even if one of your picks doesn't hit, you can still double your money. Plus, you can get your money fast and as quick as 15 minutes. It is a fun way to keep the games exciting, or at least add a new level of interest. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win. Just get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. So, stray thoughts on this one. But Anfernee Simons really good. Chris Murray was darn good on defense and good enough on offense. I thought he played a little bit too long in the fourth quarter, but whatever. It might not have made a crazy amount of difference, but I think Denny could have come back out there a little sooner than he did. That's a minor quibble I missed. It's in my notes, so I wanted to hit it here. I have some stray thoughts. This was an interesting game in light of JB Bickerstaff getting fired last year, right? The Detroit Pistons are back to 500 for the first time since the 18-19 season. It's been a minute. Blake Griffin was a Piston the last time they had a record, this late in the season of 500. I believe they've won some season openers from time to time. Started 3-2 one year, I think. But this late in the season, like into January, 36 games in the season at 500. It's been since the 18-19 season, so January of 2019. That's a long time ago. And JB Bickerstaff is the first-year head coach turning this thing around, and JB Bickerstaff lost his job. And when he lost his job in Cleveland last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers turned into an absolute monster. An absolute monster. Kenny Atkinson is going to very likely win Coach of the Year in his first year in Cleveland. They're 31-4 as I record this. They're outrageously good. And JB Bickerstaff probably wasn't the guy to push them over the top. They needed a new voice. And watching him work in Detroit in a way that he helped Cleveland take a big step forward, and then they need someone else to push them even farther forward. Monty Williams, who's been a good coach in New Orleans, was a very successful coach in Phoenix, was very much the wrong coach for the Detroit Pistons last year. They gave him a whole bunch of money. He didn't work out. They fired him quickly after one season and moved on. I say all this to say is that I think Chauncey Billups did a fine coaching job tonight. But my critique of Billups over the years, or over probably the last two seasons, if we're being totally honest, is not really about wins and losses. I don't care about that. I find it foolish when people say, well, Chauncey Billups has the worst winning percentage of any coach who's blah, blah, blah. They've lost on purpose at the end of several of his seasons. The critique of him is not the record. That misses the point. It's the other stuff. Is he the right type of coach for this gig? And without getting too far into that, I just want to point out this as just a stray thought. J.B. Bickerstaff was probably the wrong coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but was the perfectly correct coach for the Detroit Pistons. There is a situational nature to how and when you need a certain type of coach. Billups was not hired to coach this type of team, and I think it seems pretty obvious that he won't coach them again next season. It's a weird lame duck year that the franchise walked themselves into. It doesn't seem very fun for anyone necessarily, but it isn't a completely damning thing to say you can't coach. I think Billups has had his own struggles with identifying what his players do and like what their best skills are. I think that's probably my biggest critique of him overall during his coaching staff is like identifying what are your absolute strengths and playing to your absolute strengths. But like, I look at Billups' skills. People really like him. For the right type of team, that's the type of coach you need. In the same way, for the Cleveland Cavaliers needed a different type of coach in Kenny Atkinson. The Pistons needed a different type of coach, and it was the guy who wasn't the right fit in Cleveland is the right fit in Detroit. And I am struck by that juxtaposition watching the Pistons celebrate a milestone that they would not have gotten to with their previous coach, who was fired for not being the right guy at his previous job. And when he leaves, that team turns into a freaking juggernaut. It's a weird balance, right? It's a weird balance. You can be good at this in the wrong spot, is what I'm trying to say here. It was Chauncey Billups night in Detroit. They honored him in his induction into the Hall of Fame. They had some merch. They were selling like $180 sweatshirt. I saw it on their team store. It was a cool sweatshirt, I guess. Not really my style, but I'm too old to have a style. If you really love Mr. Big Shot, you can go buy an expensive Mitchell & Ness sweatshirt. I don't know why I gave you the brand; they don't pay me, but you can go buy a sweatshirt of a known a vintage dealer of NBA goods. But they had a tribute video to him in the first quarter. They had another tribute video to him in the second quarter. They had a halftime artist that did one of those quick painting things that you do at halftime, where they drew a picture of Chauncey Billups wearing his suit for his Hall of Fame induction. They honored him before the game during warm-ups. I missed that part, but I believe I saw a clip of him waving to the crowd when he was honored. Warm-ups. It was Mr. Big Shot night. There was a bobblehead for him and stuff too. A beloved figure in Detroit. I think the perception of Chauncey Billups by Detroiters, by our Michiganders, is that he is trapped and toiling in this city. He's stuck. He's imprisoned here in Portland. So I want to offer that as like a JB Bickerstaff like perspective. You can be the wrong type of coach for a certain situation, and I think the Blazers they have refused to admit that Chauncey Billups is not hired for this situation, and it's been a little bit weird. Although tonight was a totally good Chauncey night, so like, no real, no. Actually, he had a weird challenge, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Actually, it's right here. He had a weird challenge in this game. If I quibble number 7, minor quibble, the Chauncey challenged a foul call on Denny Avdia that had no chance of winning. It was very little upside. It was literally possession. It was like there was Cade Cunningham didn't foul Denny Avdia. The ball went off Denny. The Blazers would have I guess it would have been a shooting foul. It's okay, whatever. Kevin Clabrow's still out. According to what it seems like from what Lamar Hurd said on the recent broadcast, Kevin Clabrow's just taking some time off and he's at home. That sounds great. Enjoy your time off, KC. I'm happy for you. But the Blazers had after a couple games of Zora Stevenson, Jason Benetti filled in as the play-by-play call, and Jason Benetti is a pro. You would not have known. It was Benetti's first game working with Lamar Hurd. I know Benetti works for the Tigers. I guess he does baseball play-by-play. I'm not familiar with him from that. I watched a fair amount of baseball, but I'm a National League guy. So I'm not familiar with Benetti from that, and I'd be watching the Rockies broadcast anyway, so let's be honest here. Shout out to... Shout out to my beloved crew over there with the Rocks. But Benetti, I know him from doing some college basketball and some college football games for Fox Sports over the years, and I believe he used to work for ESPN back in the day. But I know him from some Fox Sports broadcasts, college basketball and college football. Dude's a pro. Really, really good on the call. Really, really good on the call. A friend texted me unprompted and said Jason Benetti is fantastic, and I agree with you, Pete. You were right. Really, really good. You would not have known it was Benetti's first game. Okay, final thing to pay attention to. You are listening to Tuesday, January 7th show, and Tuesday, January 7th is the final day to waive players who are on non-guaranteed deals in order for them to be not on your books and not fully guaranteed for the remainder of the year. That only applies to one player on the Blazers roster. That's Delano Banton. It would be a pretty big surprise if Delano Banton got waived, but it could happen. And the deadline for the Blazers to do it and clear his money, because you have to spend 48 hours on the waiver wire, would be on by the end of day tomorrow, by the end of business tomorrow. So if Delano Banton is not waived, they're not going to announce that he's on the team, right? Maybe someone will report it or whatever, but they're not going to announce that he's on the team. It'll be a lack of information. If you don't hear any news about Delano Banton by the time you go to bed on Tuesday evening, well, congratulations, Delano. You got your money. You're guaranteed for the remainder of the season. That is I would say something like 98% most likely outcome. There is a world in which the Blazers value a roster spot for some unknown reason. And Banton hasn't been playing. He's been a healthy scratch last couple games. So they're not. It's not like they would be missing 22 minutes a night all of a sudden. But they need him for depth. They need him for another ball handler. This has been by far his best season as a pro. It would be weird if they waived him, but just a deadline to know Delano Banton guarantee date will become his contract. If he's still on the roster by the end of business Tuesday, he is a Blazer, a guaranteed contract for the remainder of the season. So even if we get traded or whatever, he gets his money. And in this world, on this show, we're rooting for guys to get their money. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Come back. Okay, tomorrow's show, it's a mailbag. It's going to be a mailbag episode. I'm likely going to record it pretty early in the afternoon, probably like 4 p.m.-ish, maybe even earlier, West Coast time. So if you're listening to this, and I have 2 questions, and I'm probably going to roll with them. So I'm really looking for one absolute banger. I'm looking for a heater. And you, dear listener, you are listening 32 minutes into the program on a Tuesday in January. You've got a heater. You got one. Email me, lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. I'll just tell you right now, I'm not going to do some fake trades. So you could send me those, but I'm not going to talk about it on the show. Send me something good. Just like you have a good question. You have a good, thoughtful, nuanced question. You know the show. You know the program. You know the types of things I want to talk about and I'm curious about. Send me something that piques my interest. I will share it on the show, mailbag episode. I'll record it on Tuesday, and it will be in your feeds on Wednesday. I've got 2 good ones. So send me some more. I appreciate y'all. Tell your friends about the program, and then come back for tomorrow's show. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.